What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Save Point Podcast, episode 10, massive number. We actually made it. I am one of your co-hosts, Alex. I am joined, as always, by my good friend, Sway, and we're here to, well, I guess probably talk about Hogwarts Legacy for as long as we feel like it. We both have things we're going to do right after it. You can see behind Sway there, you got the game already, locked and loaded. So we're recording this, as always, we record it Thursday. You guys see it a few days later, so I'm sure by the time you see it, we'll be even further. But these are just kind of our impressions so far. We haven't actually talked, you and I, about, deep diving and what we think about it, some of the intricacies of it. So how you doing? I'm not even going to ask what you've been playing. I don't really think that's necessary. What do you think? We'll just kind of bounce back and forth.
So far, it might. I said this on Twitter. It might actually be, from an experience standpoint, the best experience I've ever had in a game, and I don't know how much of that is due to nostalgia, my love of the franchise, how well the game is made, but the detail. You feel like you're in Hogwarts. You feel like you're in the Wizarding World. Even the story, I haven't gotten nearly as far as the story because I've been doing like field guide pages, but
Gotta catch up.
man, yeah, gotta catch up. I haven't even gotten a lockpick yet. That's how I'm just exploring just field pages like everywhere I go. And then when I do the story, they introduce like either a new section of the map or something totally different.
Yeah.
And then you're just interacting with that. So like I think last night I started to do like Merlin's
the trials.
yeah, Merlin's trials. And even with that I'm like I want to explore more of that. How many of those can I find? So
There's
it's just
so many Merlin trials.
so many, and it's just so good. Like I can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah.
What about you, Alex?
No, the experience, what you just said, the comment about experiencing. I think you're probably right. Like, there's a lot of people talking about it as a game of the year or one of their favorite games of all time. I don't know if I'm there yet. I tend to be pretty critical of it, but I have a lot of games I'm really fond of. But in terms of going in and just being kind of immersed in Hogwarts, I don't really think there's anything like it. I talked about it in my impressions video, and you and I were talking about with the field guide pages. Something about this game, I think because of where it's centered, makes everything just better. Collectibles shouldn't be this fun or addicting, especially when there's like 600 collectibles. That's actually too much. I fully think there's too many collectibles in Hogwarts. I think Zelda, Breath of the Wild had like 800. That's too much too. So I will be critical on that side. However, they're in the world. Like, you're in the world. You're using Lumos, and it's so good. And you hear the noise, and it looks great. And you're trying to match up locations, or sometimes you have to do Accio, and Accio is so much fun to just pull books in. Like, it has an unfair advantage, I think, in just the smallest, these tedious things that you do that every game has that they become annoying. This game kind of just has an unfair advantage where it's like, yeah, but you're in Hogwarts. You're in the Wizarding World. It's kind of fun to find these things all of a sudden. Besides probably the lockpicking. I would say being in the Wizarding World doesn't help that lockpicking is still a thing. But beyond that, just finding, and that's not even the story, the characters, like the locations, the attention to detail. That's just finding pages out in the world, right? It's so crazy. Let me ask you this. Did you think, like, this is their first game like this? Can you believe?
Game was Cars.
Yeah. Can you believe? Because there are people saying, there are issues with it. I think technical. I think mainly on PC is what I've seen. PC tends to have stuttering and stuff like that. I'll be honest. I mean, there's texture pop-ins quite a bit. Like, there's things that pop in for me, but like bugginess, Bethesda looks like a joke right now. By the way, like what do you? I guess my question is, for the first time they've done something like this, the limited amount of issues, nobody's flying through walls except for Peeves, who's supposed to do that. There's no game-breaking things or immersion-breaking. I mean, how do you think they did it?
I
Or can you believe
I think
they
it
did
goes.
it, I should say. You know what I mean? It's nuts.
nothing shocks me anymore. But
That's true.
when it comes to like this studio, we didn't know what to expect. I think seeing the quality, I kind of just lasered in from the beginning and just lasered into what we were shown before the game came out. And everything that we seen, it was looking like a quality experience, but we never knew what to expect.
Yeah.
And this is like it kind of shows you that there is talent to be found anywhere, no matter the status of the studio. And that was like, it's ironic that it's also a WB game because
Yeah.
when you look at Gotham Knights, that was practically a new team. That was that studio's first game, and they're only going to build off of what they've learned from that in the future. And I mean not Monolith. I was confused too. Avalanche. There's like, okay, this is where we're starting,
Yeah.
and so we have to build from here.
I know.
And so that is it's incredible. I didn't expect the quality of this much to the point where it's like when I do encounter bugs, and I haven't encountered really hardly any, but I've
Yeah.
had friends who've like when you do reparo, I had a friend who said that when you first do it and you rebuild that statue, the statue grew like larger than the school itself and
Oh
crashed
my
the game.
god.
So, but other than that, like I mean, like I personally haven't encountered that many, but when
Yeah.
I do, it's just like considering like this team's track record, I probably shouldn't let it slide, but I'm more like able to do it, I guess, mentally because of this, practically their first game like this. This
Yeah.
is their first game like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
They knocked it out of the park. We're talking about like best experience we've ever had. So
It slides right in as
yes,
easily an above average RPG. Just an RPG.
yep,
I think what's funny about it actually is the main things they could improve going forward is the RPG stuff. I think
yep,
that's the weakest, but I think it's the weakest because it's kind of the least explored in terms of not enough kids in Hogwarts, some students, just not getting enough time, definitely not enough companions, right? I think we can all safely say 10, 15, 20 hours in the game, there's only the three, Sebastian, Natsai,
yep,
and Poppy. So there is no Ravenclaw, but there's also just those three, and they're not super long either, the kind of the quest line for them. So, there's room to, and I'm not saying like, oh, all of a sudden the game's horrible. That's kind of the weakness is the RPG side of it. But at the same time, it's parts of the RPG side because I think the combat is kind of legendary. Like the more I play the combat, and I'm recording like all of it, but I missed like a 10, 15-minute thing because the recording was rendering and I was like, I'm not waiting for it. I got to keep playing. And I went into a goblin camp and I wrecked. Like I did so well. I was chaining. I think it was a dungeon. Yeah, I wasn't outside. And I had probably this like 4-minute phase of just being kind of lights out with my magic, and I didn't get it in the recording. So that kind of sucks. But it made me think like the more you get better at this game, the more spells you unlock, the more permutations or whatever. Like it gets so good, the fighting. And
yes,
there's also limited bugs there too. Like the only bugs I tend to have is a depulso, I think is like when you really push somebody far back with force. I've done that, and they've kind of gotten stuck, and they have to kind of like work their way around an obstacle that I knocked them into. But like, it's so good, and it's such a unique like, it's satisfying pressing triangle and just doing a
yes,
protego, but then also doing the stupefy after. It's cool, and then it's also cool just to mix and match spells like Incendio when you level it up. It's so cool, and I don't like. It's one of the most unique combat systems I think is out there. I would like it to not be the D-pad thing. I really don't like the D-pad thing because you're
yeah,
holding R2 and you have to press, on the so you're over here, but now you're over here. I assume there's a better way of doing it that maybe they can figure out for the second game. But beyond switching, the idea that you can switch and mix and match is so good. What do you think about the combat?
the combat is brilliant. It is fluent. It is like once you get the hang of it, it's not even a learning curve. Like it's once they walk you through it, it's like your imagination can run wild
Yeah.
and you can literally chain together whatever you want to do. And Leviosa and I think it's Inferio, right?
Yeah,
Or
or Incendio is the yeah.
Incendio. That combination for me is lethal. And just being able to chain it together is just I love it. I think honestly, this is in many ways, once again, it's ironic that this is a WB product, that this is probably gonna I can't see many games that can use it, but this is probably revolutionize like combat the way that the Arkham series did for like
Yeah.
superhero games.
WB
And
has
I
a history of good feeling games. And
yes.
this was, it wasn't necessarily a worry, but it was like, how are they going to do combat in this game? When you first see it, it's pretty slow, it's pretty stiff. But I had always been like, I think it's going to be good. And I heard somebody
Yep.
say it where it's like, WB games, for whatever you think about the games, their fighting systems are always pretty. Even Gotham Knights, with a more
Yeah.
live servicey kind of like beat 'em up thing, it's still pretty
Mm-hmm.
okay. That's probably the
Yeah.
weakest one, and it's still fine. And then you kind of go
Yeah.
up from there with, the Middle Earth games, which is basically
Yep.
Batman anyway.
Yep.
The Arkham games, and now this, and then we'll have Wonder Woman, which I assume is going to be just fine. You know what I mean? It's nuts actually how well. It seems like that's a checklist item where when you make a game for them, they say your combat needs to be good. Like that's one of the
Yes.
things.
I think they're spot on even for like storytelling like the non-spoiler reviews I've even watched on this game. The story seems to be hit or miss for a lot of people. For me, I don't like maybe I just have like a different like I don't know how much of it is nostalgia and how much is me fanboying out. But like so far, and I haven't even gotten far into the story, so that I can totally see what everybody is saying later.
Yeah.
But so far, like I've just been captivated by it, kind of like even the opening. It just
The
reminded me
opening
of
is legitimately good.
oh my god, so good. Like he Dragon just
Well,
comes in.
let's not say.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
say.
yeah,
Let's not
yeah,
say.
yeah. Yeah. But it is yes, the whole opening is brilliant.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like you're right at Hogwarts, like you're right in a Harry Potter movie. They even will do callbacks to famous moments out of the movies in books. So combat wise, game like it is just all there. I can't say enough nice things about it. Like it's
Yeah.
really I can't call it a surprise, but I'm surprised at how better it was than I even thought, and I thought it was going to be good to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. I just remembered now 13 minutes in. I don't think I'm legally obligated to say it, but I'll say it just in case that they did give me a code, a day before. I actually don't think I have to say it, which is pretty interesting. But no, you're right. I think playing it, I think I was surprised. I was surprised that they actually did it. Like, again, there are some things on the outskirts that aren't as realized as I want, like the classes, literally going to classes. There's some things that are not fully there. The story is also, I like it. So far, I like it. I wouldn't say I love it, but I definitely like it. But I did not expect it to go that direction. I don't know how far you are, but let's just say like the ancient magic ties and what they're doing with how they're telling it. I did not expect that at all. Like focusing on say before versus like the present. I did not think they were going to do that whatsoever. So, and I
I've
would
got
say
my first
actually,
encounter with that.
yeah, I think that we'll talk about it maybe even afterwards when we're off. But I think that maybe takes away from Ranrock and Rookwood, though. I'll be honest. I like them so far in what I've seen, but they're not in it. And I mean that is an RPG thing. It normally is like the villains are like these big threats, and you fight like their gangs, but you don't really fight them, and they're kind of like gone for most of the game. That is a general RPG thing that I've never really liked about the genre. That's totally here. I've played 17 hours. I think I've seen Rookwood. I've seen Rookwood 2 times, but it was kind of the same scene. And we've already seen half of it in that state of play, that scene. And you see Ranrock 2 times, one of which is that scene, and one of which we've seen in the trailers when he walks up on you in the beginning of the game. So they're in it 2 times, 17 hours in, for maybe 2 minutes. That's not enough for me. So, again, things on the outskirt there. But when I'm playing this game, I'm like, I can't believe it's actually not even. I'm past. I can't believe it's out. I can't believe I'm touching it. To be honest with you, I've never had the strongest like feel of that. Even leading in when I was doing these last live streams, there is a surreal factor to it. And I guess talking about it as long as I have. But to be honest, the biggest surprise is they actually did it. Like, not that I have the game, that it's actually good. Because it could have
Yes.
been so bad. It could have disappointed. It could have not achieved. We could have been doing these theories for years, and it could have been a disaster and just not lived up to anything. But I think it lived up to like 90% over. I mean, like, how close do you want it to be? They did it. And that's incredible.
I think that me and you are a big proponent of, regardless of what any interview says, or review says, think for yourself, play it for yourself, form
Indeed.
your own opinion. This might be one of the few times in recent memories where I'm like, I agree with the scores. I agree with them. I think obviously before that would have been Ragnarok, and some had it spot on. Some I was like, for me at least, it was spot on, and then some of them was like, that might be a little bit too high or too low. Like it's, but unanimously, I think that overall, like they got this one right.
What's it? I want to
Um,
look at what it's at. It went back up. It was at 80. I
yep,
think it started at like 88 or 89. Then it went to
yep,
86. Then it went to 85 for just a quick
5.
minute. But now it's back up to an 86. 86 based off 56 reviews. And it's got a 9.0 based off 476 user scores. I am shocked. This is a call to
Mm-hmm.
action. I am shocked it hasn't been review bombed. I'm
Same.
shocked. 9.0, so when people aren't doing the 0 thing, I guess they're going to leave that alone. Maybe. I honestly, I don't know.
I
We'll talk
I
about, I
think
want to
it's
talk
hard
about
to
the
hate on it.
controversy with you in a bit, but I want to focus on the game now. But, yeah. No, I think an 85 is a pretty, we've talked about it before. I'm not a huge fan of review scores, at least the modern day use of
Same.
them. I don't give review scores myself. But yeah, I think an 85 is honestly, because it's lacking. It's, if they have the
Yeah,
things I'm
it's
talking
not
about,
perfect.
yeah, it can get to like a 95 if you add some of the stuff I'm saying. But I mean, this is not
Mm-hmm.
a 6 or a 7. It's not slightly above average. This is it's a great game with amazing features and then some things that are lacking. That's what this game is, which is, I think if you told us that 3-4 months ago, I think we would have taken it.
Yep. Easily. I mean, there's nothing to complain about here. Like I said, and the way I look at it is like what is missing is the time of development that they had. I could see um them not being able to get every last thing in there, but then when you realize and you hear like, oh well, they took features out here, they took features out there, and I'm just like, y'all really went to work on this game. There was no time wasted. There was no procrastination. Um, it only makes me more excited for the next game because it hasn't been announced yet, but I feel confident enough to say like that. I'd be shocked if there wasn't.
Yeah, yeah. I can't imagine that it doesn't. No, there's a lot of noise, and I want to talk to you about it as well. But you all, there's a lot of noise, but it's breaking records in
Yeah.
in the in the deluxe edition world. Like, it's the second most played single player game on Steam, behind
Yep.
Cyberpunk, and it's in early access. So what happens on Friday? Does it beat Cyberpunk? I think it could. It was at like 488. I think it needs to get to 803. So you got to
Yep.
get like 300,000 more people. But I mean, there's a lot of people that are just going to get the standard. They're not just going to get the deluxe. The viewers watching it, breaking the
That broke
all-time record,
records.
like, it's nuts. And it's not, again, to the loud vocal minority, it's not working. The viewership record breaking, I would attribute directly to the boycotting thing. Because I think, not everybody's going to buy the game out of spite because they're told not to. But what they will do is look it up. So I think that's
Hmm.
what's happening. They're hearing about it with all this stuff, and they're going to watch it on Twitch. And then, inevitably, you will convert some of those watchers to buyers. They'll watch somebody play and say, I'm getting it. Not everybody, not all 1.2, but maybe 20%, maybe 30%, and you just got an additional 20, 30, 40,000 or 400,000 copies. You know what I mean? That one I would attest directly to the noise is making people go
Mhm.
watch the game. So that's a really bad idea, the noise. And then from the people playing it, well, those are just people that we're going to give it anyway. What do you think about like the record-breaking kind of numbers?
It's great to see for the franchise. I feel like Harry Potter fans for a while have been looking for not just in games, but
Anything.
even movies. Yeah, anything. Like the Secrets of Dumbledore didn't necessarily give us the feels that we all wanted to have. It didn't it disappointed many of the fan base pretty much. And then there's not enough Harry Potter content coming out. I just feel like this was a win that the entire community needed. And I feel like a lot of people, regardless of your stance in any situation, deep down you see that this is the experience that you've even wanted to have.
Yeah.
Everybody's wanted to have. And so I think that just the record breaking viewership, the record break, like just everything that it's doing is just speaking to how much Wizarding fans really wanted this game to succeed. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, there's a passion for it. And this game
it
really appeal.
definitely is.
Yeah, and this game appeals to a lot of people. For all the talk about the noise, this game is incredibly diverse. It's probably the most diverse of any Harry Potter Wizarding World thing we've ever seen. There's characters of
Definitely.
all different, you know what I mean? There's all sorts of characters in this. It doesn't play favorites, it just goes.
Nope.
And so, yeah, I really think it is the game that you could, like, again, these people that are so loud. It's like there's people in your group that are actually in the game. One of them is a prominent character in the game. It's like side character, sure, but you do quests for her and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, this is the game, and this is the thing, and we've talked about it before. This like is the springboard that this proves. There's one thing I wanted to also ask you. I would say the only time I ever think of Harry Potter when playing this is just if I think too hard about the male main character's voice, because he sounds like Daniel Radcliffe.
Yes,
But
he
beyond
sounds
that, I
exactly.
don't think about Harry Potter at all. I literally am in a different, kind of faction of the world, and I'm just experiencing that. So do you think they did enough where it lives on its own? It's not reliant on Harry Potter, because I don't even think about the movies or books really when I'm playing this.
I think honestly, it proves that you can probably do more projects outside of Harry Potter.
Yeah,
You don't need Harry, Hermione, Ron, and even then, like the way that they did it, their lineage just kind of lives on, kind of thing. So like I've seen a Diggory,
yeah,
not to, I don't think that's like a spoiler or anything
no,
like that, but like I've seen um just
because
people in
obviously
the
the
lineage. We
Weasleys.
already
Yeah,
the Weasleys, the Blacks, obviously.
yep,
Uh, there's people in the lineage that you can instantly have a tie to and feel like, hey, like I have a feeling I know where you're from or what family line you're from. And
yeah,
even the characters, the new characters that they brought in, they stand out.
yeah,
I think that this was proof that you could make a movie in the Wizarding world, and it's not that people won't accept it, because that's something that I see all the time. Is that people don't like really things in the Wizarding world. They want Harry, Hermione, Ron, and they want more experiences with them. And we do, but we don't need them.
yeah,
We will consume anything that is executed very well.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I
I
mean that's a thing for all this stuff, right? Even Star Wars,
yep,
or even
yep,
when Mark Hamill would go off and say there's Star Wars fatigue. Not really. There's good things and bad things, and people can kind of tell the difference. And that really is what it largely, and it's hard because you have to actually execute it to see it before your eyes. But all these kind of excuses of, well, they won't tolerate this or they won't do that. You'd be surprised what people will give money to if it's good. You could do any kind of
yes,
Wizarding World game. You could do a Telltale style. You could do an MMO. You will see the money come in if it's good. If it's bad,
that's
if it's
good.
for money, then you will see what fans will do against that. But If you're doing it for the right reasons and the game is quality, who cares? Yeah, and you're right. Like the new characters, I like Fig quite a bit.
Yep.
I
Same.
would say all the companions. I think I've had the least amount of time with Poppy. I just met her actually last night for maybe like an hour. She is really cool though. Sebastian is really. I like Sebastian a lot because he's not really Malfoy. He's got the dark side, but he's also very, very loyal. Like he's a very, he will be a friend if you treat him right, I suppose. So yeah, I think they've done a really good job of unique, different kind of characters. It kind of is like the main, even like the professors, I would say they're like the standouts. Some of the random students you take side quests from, they don't have any, personality to it, which is okay. I mean, a
Nope.
lot of RPGs don't. I would say compared to a lot of other RPGs, though, characters do stand out. Like there's a rich kind of history. I enjoy going to the outskirts, right? These little towns and just
Yes.
talking about. And that is a bias. I would say that's probably a biasness because we know the world, we're into it. I enjoy it more than say like a Fallout when you're asking kind of questions. But I'm more tuned into this world. But it has that advantage for me. I'm more into hearing these random stories that aren't even from main characters. Let's hear about this random side thing. But to give them credit, it's not even just a biasness. I think they do pretty good. I think let me ask you this. I think they keep things pretty concise with talking in this game. There's not
Yes.
5, 6, 7 minutes of. In fact, I've kind of tested it. When you ask those questions, right, those question mark things beyond just, it's like 3, 4 lines of dialogue and that's it. Then you're done and you go to then you pick something else. And not to single out Horizon, but it is a game that I think of where it's like a very powerful anti thing. Horizon, they can just talk and talk and
On and
it's a big
on.
world, and I like the lore of Horizon. But those conversations, if you talk to a person, there could be 15 things you ask that person, and it could go on for like a minute each thing. In Hogwarts, I'll have to look back in my stats, but if you ask a question, maybe 20 seconds, they'll answer it, and then you go to the next thing. It is not long at all. I think that's such a good idea is that keeps you going. Then I want to ask the next question. If you take 5 minutes to answer one question and then there's 6 more questions, am I going to do them? No. So do you know what I mean? And have you kind of experienced that?
I honestly have. Like there would be times when and I love like sometimes you can go back and kind of ask because it's like I'll start it and then like it goes so quick that like if I get like a notification on my phone and I just look at it for a second and I'm like I tuned out for like a second, I'm like,
And they're
wait a
done.
minute. And they're done. And so they do keep it concise. And even then, like as far as dialogue in the game, like I don't know how often you like walk past students and they're just like having conversations. And
Yeah.
they're like conversations, but they're not long either.
Right.
And so like I'll go there and I'll just sit there. I'm like, I want to see how long this conversation is.
Yeah.
And like they'll be having a full blown conversation of like some meaning that makes it feels like you're in the overarching world. Or sometimes they'll interact with you and say, like, hey, I like this thing that you did.
Yeah.
And it's always a perfect amount. It's not too much, it's not too little. And I don't know how they found that perfect balance. I don't know if that was on purpose, but whether if it's the dialogues that you have with your professors or other characters in the game, or you're just walking by and listening to other students' conversations,
Yeah.
it's it's kind of unique. Even some of the random classmates that you will have during class, like I'll go around if they allow me to press square to talk to
Oh yeah.
somebody,
Yeah.
I will. They surprisingly a lot more NPCs have names than I would have thought.
Yeah.
Like if you go to the hall, like if you're walking past somebody, then it'll just say like Hufflepuff student,
Yeah.
Ravenclaw student. But like if you're like in a class or something, like all the students have names.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the. I think that's the attention to detail kind of thing, right? Um,
Yeah.
and the classes are kind of small. They're kind of. It's I like it. Like there's an odd thing I've thought about when I go back and forth of like the livability of the school. Because I do think the school is very it's lived in beyond students. I think what makes Hogwarts so special is there's all the portraits, there's the knights that'll move, there's enchantments, things that are moving on their own. Hogwarts, it's a cliche thing to say like the setting or the location is a character. Hogwarts Castle is literally a character because there's so much that goes on in Hogwarts that has nothing to do with the students. And then it has students. So I think the student part is lacking. I don't think there's enough of them. But I think
Yeah,
Hogwarts
no,
Castle is extremely lived in because portraits will talk to you as you're walking, but everything is doing something. And
they're
then,
animated.
yeah, and then when I think about the classrooms, I kind of go like pro con, where it's like, again, I would like to still see more students, but then you think, well, a classroom of like 10 to 15 kids, that's probably what Hogwarts would shoot for. Like, there's no need to have
Yep.
80, 90 kids in a classroom. So, like, I get it. I guess I just think to the movies, sometimes the beginning of them, sometimes the end. You think about, like, the ending of Goblet of Fire when they're kind of reminiscing on the tribe, and there's, like, hundreds of kids leaving throughout the bridge. There's hundreds
Yep.
of them. I don't actually remember, like, from the book, like, is Hogwarts supposed to be that populated? Or is it not? But you think to, like, high school and schools and stuff, and high schools are pretty, there's a lot of kids that go to high schools, right? So,
But not all the classes are like
but
super
now, yeah,
populated like
right. So,
that.
so it's kind of a
Yeah.
pro con. I think in the hallways, but yet again, if there's like 90 kids in a hallway, it's so full you can't even see the portraits then at that point. So there's got to be a blend, or you got to be like a nice little middle ground. But from the classes, yeah, I would actually kind of keep those the same. Keep it very condensed, 10 to 50, because you actually see, when you go to herbology and then you go to like divination, it's the same. Some of them at least are the same kids that are in
Yep.
one class versus the other, because it's a year. You're all fifth years, right? So it makes a lot of sense.
I think one thing too, and maybe like you can, I hope that they do a little bit better next game. Curfew. Um,
There is none.
only during only during missions that require it, where it's like all of a sudden there is one. It doesn't matter what time it is. Like at night, I will say there's no students
Right.
that's walking around the castle, but there's also nobody there trying to catch you.
Yep.
And so it's one of those things where it's like, when I heard there was curfew, I was kind of like, I think that might be the only aspect where, and I'm not gonna say that I'm let down because I didn't expect anything extraordinary from it, but like, um, I was expecting a little bit more from, because once I played the mission with curfew, I was like, oh, okay, I like this. And then I'm like, maybe this is how it's gonna be for the rest of the game. And then
Well,
no.
one of the first missions, doesn't it tell you it's nighttime? Press this button to go to your common room and sleep.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
like 2-3 hours in. And yeah, so that was the one when I played that, I was like, oh, okay, they're going to monitor me. They're going to tell me when it's too late at night, you need to go back to your common room. And then it never happens. And you could do
Nope.
whatever you want at night. And yeah, that I would definitely have changed. Yet again, if there's people trying to catch you, Hogwarts is so big. Hogwarts Castle is so big. There's so many hallways. That's a lot of. Imagine exploring it at night if you're always trying to hide from people. Now, technically, that's how it should be. So I could actually understand both sides of it. The game is designed to not care because you're looking for collectibles. You're looking for. I don't think you've gotten there yet with lock picking. You need to find demi-guys. I think that's how you say it. Demi-guys statues, which are only available at night. So you need to go out at night and look for these things. So the game itself wants you to be able to freely explore 24/7. It doesn't, penalize you. So because of that, I don't think you can have curfews and people looking for you outside of specific missions. On the flip side of things, would I sacrifice all that if you made it a somewhat different kind of game and you told me, well, you're not really supposed to be, you know what I mean? You're not supposed to be out at night. So we're going to make it pretty challenging. And you're like, you're literally not supposed to be out. So if you get caught, it is what it is. I get why they didn't do it because that's kind of a different system of a game. Maybe the next game, but I don't know, because it's an open world, collectibles are so important, I guess, But maybe next time there aren't as many collectibles, but then there's less to do, and it's tough. It's actually tough to think about what you do actually for the next game. With neither of us having beaten it, I'm just talking about collectibles and stuff because you can't have us look for more field guide pages, right?
No, that would be it. We're in the game. I mean, unless they want to like put us in a different time period with a different student, then
Yeah.
like I could see the field guide pages coming in, but to my knowledge, this is supposed to be like a rare occurrence.
Yeah,
Like
it's
not that
very
many
rare.
people. Yeah, so like I wouldn't do that this often, but I would find a different. I think they can find a different way to like make collectibles like the pages, but like something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there's definitely room for them to build on and make this 9 like a 10 for some people for the next game. But they have the foundation, so now it's like wherever their creativity takes them for the next game, I think that that will be the world is their oyster. I
Yeah.
mean, I think they might have outperformed them. I wonder, that's what I really want to know is what do they think, like, as far as like how everything has been received and like I know the developers are proud of their work probably, but like just how does it make them feel about how well it's received and like because they're going to be like after this game, I feel like they're going to be known as a top studio for this.
Yep.
So,
A very controversial one, but a very like
yes.
and that but that's what's going to be so fun maybe for at least for us is to look and you know it's literally what I said. I just didn't think this game would be as good as it was. I said it like a week ago. When this game sells and you make a lot of money, you got to go out there now and you got to hire more people, the best people you
Yep.
can find so we can achieve this next level, which at this point now is like the elite class because you're
Yeah.
already in the extremely good or if not great territory. There's only one level left, and it's like you're the top of the game. So you need to find like Naughty Dog does. Really, you know, I know people, including myself. I don't love The Last of Us Part 2, at least the story, but they are like the top. Like they pick the best of the best people. People that are really good at other studios, they get rejected from Naughty Dog. They get told no because Naughty Dog only takes the best, and for better or worse, maybe right, depending on their what you think of the game. But Hogwarts and Avalanche, kind of the same thing. They now need to take the best of the
The
best. But
best.
here's the wrinkle: do people want to go? What's it going to look like now? If you say, "Oh, I was brought on now for Hogwarts Legacy 2," specifically after the last 3-4 days, because it needs to happen. You need to start to. It's like a sport. You need to get more talent, better talent. Not necessarily replace people, but now you can grow, so you can get even more people. And because of that, though, people have to then announce, "Oh, I'm joining Avalanche," and who wants to do that right now? So
Uh
maybe they wait for things to cool down, and then
Probably.
but you got to build up, and it's going to be kind of fun to see who they like. Do we see more BioWare employees, like former BioWare employees, join them? You know what I mean? You got to go after the RPG studios. You got to take some of those people.
I think that there's a lot of different ways to kind of go about it to salvage it. Like the controversy is something that you can't necessarily run from, but I've seen people do beautiful things with it. As far as there are streamers that will stream and donate to a charity of that community. So there's always a way to turn a negative into a positive. So I think that after things have blown over, after all sides have calmed down and cooled and put their heads together, there's a way to turn a negative into a positive. And I don't think that developers will feel shame to go to Avalanche at a certain point, especially because of how well this has been received and the money you stand to make as a studio
Yeah.
and the contracts you possibly stand to get because you also got to think about it as like job security. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
if it's there and you got the talent and you
Well,
know what
we
I'm saying
know from
everybody needs to feed their
Troy there is
family.
some part of money that will come in if the game does well. So
Yep.
now you look at this game that sells 10, 15 million. These people are going to they're going to get some real nice bonuses, and then you can say,
Yep.
"Hey, you know, the next game probably can at least match this in terms of sales. So you come with us. How many other studios can promise you a bonus as big as maybe we can?" And you
Exactly.
know that kind of stuff. Money talks, you know. And if people
Yeah.
get laid off, these Microsoft employees, right? And there will be many more
Yep.
studios that close, or
Yep.
people that lose their jobs. You're looking for money. You don't have a job. They're offering you money. They're offering you. You take it. It doesn't matter
Yep.
about the loud mob.
So yeah, that's where and it's just one of those things where I don't think that they're gonna have an issue like you said, they're the elite. They're basically working their way up to that elite class now.
Yeah.
And this one game pretty much
Yeah.
single-handedly got them there. And you're there with the Naughty Dogs. You're there with the honestly, I think that anytime a game innovates, like tremendously innovates something, um, it's more than likely in that S tier category,
Yeah.
damn near.
Yeah.
So I think that we've seen it with Batman with combat. We're seeing it with Hogwarts Legacy with combat and what they did with the world. We've seen it with Breath of the Wild. We've seen it with not Last of Us, but with yeah, Last of Us, but Naughty Dog in general
Yeah.
with their quality of games. Um once you Monolith, once you do things that is just innovative that is going to improve the gaming industry overall, you are automatically a target studio for anyone to go with. And if you're a professional in your field, you want to work with the best because that's not only going to look good on your resume, but that indicates that you are one of the best if you were accepted into those.
Yep.
So I don't think that they're going to have a hard time finding it at all. They've earned their spot in legitimacy.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. The kind of game they make, whether it be the combat, whether it be how the world looks and the attention to detail, does it put them like neck and neck with like a BioWare? Maybe not, but like you have, like you just said, you have a name now. Like Avalanche is no longer these stupid, they made Cars, right? Cars 3. That stuff gets completely, and I hope those people really think about how, well, I won't say it. They don't look so great right now, do they? The people that said, oh, I'm not sure if they made Cars 3 as their last game. Well, they took quite a jump. I think we can all kind of agree, on that one. But this does put them on. It's now a studio name. I don't think people are
Yep.
going to get confused now between Avalanche Software, this one, and Avalanche Studios, the Just Cause team. People should not be confused anymore after this kind. Because you're just more known, like you said. Both from us as players, we won't be confused, and we won't have the Cars argument. And then also as developers, yeah, I mean, that internal kind of politics of just, which studios have names and what studios are kind of worth it. This is now one of them.
Yeah, they've innovated, they've elevated, and they're to a different status of recognition now. Like they should be proud of themselves, and I'm happy for them. By the way, I am out of allergy medicine right now, so I am having an allergic reaction. So if my eyes
Oh
water,
my
that
God.
is why.
You battled through it. Well, we'll end it here.
Oh no, we're
Any,
fine. We're fine.
I think I don't know. I want to do. I'll do like a full review on the channel as the days go on. I still haven't. Like I said, by the time the folks at home see this, it'll be. I'm sure we'll both be quite far in the game, but I'm getting there. I don't know. I think this game is probably like the average time. Well, I looked at like how long to beat, and I think there are people that have actually done it, and they say like 47 hours to do everything. So I'm at like 17. I am attempting. I'm kind of like inadvertently attempting to do everything. Like I don't know if I'll find every single collectible. I don't really think there's a huge part of me that wants to or will it. I will probably do like 93% of the things in this game. Like I'll pop all the balloons with the broom.
Yep.
I'll do every quest, but I'll get enough to get like the highest lock picking. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I'll find every single collector. Those things have never really meant much to me in any game. Even this one, honestly, even this one. So I probably will attempt to do that. So I don't know, maybe 40, 45 hours to do everything. One last thing. I will say this. I don't have a huge urge to play it all 4 times. I don't sense the differences all that much, except for
No.
like your color and your comment. Now, as far as I am in the game, and I haven't looked this up, so, and people don't have to respond, in the comments on this, I don't actually know if you can go in other common rooms at this point. I think you may not be
No.
able
I
to.
I am 100% confident that I have stood in front of the Slytherin
I have.
common
I
room
found.
entrance,
Yeah, I found them. Yeah.
and
But maybe
it's
is there
just
a
a wall.
story mission later on that does it? I'm gonna guess no, but I haven't seen it yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
I haven't seen it either.
what do you think about that? Because I would say if there is a weakness, maybe kind of a glaring one, it would be they don't make. I think in the beginning of the game, there's some conversations that will change. I think as the game continues to go, the differences are non-existent of which house you are.
Yeah, I think that that was something that honestly speaking, the only time that I've ever seen that really executed very well would probably be Gotham Knights, honestly. Um, as far as like you're playing through four different things and you're getting different reactions, it feels different enough to where you'll play through it.
Yeah.
Um, this one here just seems like you said, just like color, common room, and maybe even like the students you interact with. Because, for example, I doubt you're going to find a Diggory anywhere else besides Hufflepuff.
True. There. Yeah. You know what? Well, that's what I was saying. Kind of in the beginning. So in the beginning, like I was doing Gryffindor. There's a couple kids, and I assume this is the way for all of them, right? So when you first are in the common room, maybe there's like 3 kids you can talk to. Is that the case for you? So
Yeah.
yeah. So I had talked to them, and I have found them in the world, and they will say,
Yes.
"Hey, remember when we talked earlier?" So they will say,
Yes.
but you do also talk to Slytherin students and Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw, but you do have that somewhat special connection with those 3. So and you know what? Those are the 3, so 9 or well 12 in all that they talked about. I think leading in. Remember when they started just like releasing all these student names, and it's like, well, how many companions are there? Well, there's still only 3. I think that's who they released is the different kids you'll be able
Those.
to you talk to in the
Yep.
beginning. They're a little bit more unique than other people, and then you'll find them in the world, and they'll you have that kind of
Interact
connection.
with you.
That's not enough to make me play it 4 times, though. I'll tell you that. I'll say that
No,
right now.
not nearly. I think what I'm going to do is play through it, and like you said, like I don't feel the need right out the gate to get everything done. But this most definitely is a game where I'll just put it on and just be like, I'm bored. I'll
Yeah.
go around Hogwarts for a while. And the stuff that I haven't finished, I'll just knock out then. Like
Yeah.
this is definitely something that I'll pick back up. But like will I go out of my way to like a lot of the collectibles I want to do, I might even try to 100%. I'm not a trophy hunter, but I might do it. So uh on that aspect, I think no, yeah, I would not be playing through multiple times
Yeah.
unless
I
like
think
it's
I'll
like
I think I'll go for the platinum. If I recall, I do think you maybe need to at least start the game with all 4 houses. I don't think you have to go through the game with all 4, but I think you have to have like 4 different saves. So
yikes.
yeah, because there's I think
Well, that's not bad.
yeah, because there's maybe like maybe there's like one quest for each house that's unique or something. I think you have to do those quests, but those could be early on in the game. I'm not. I'll have to. Yeah, like you said. I mean, it's not urgent. So like, I want to experience it at my own pace. Even though, yeah, like I said before we recorded, I am going at it like deliberately. Like I'm trying to do one thing then the next. I'm not fully taking my time, but I wouldn't say I'm rushing it. But
Yeah.
there's no need to knock out every single thing in the whole game or play it all 4 times and 100% each time. You got 4 years until the next game at least, so we got plenty of
Not to
time.
mention, we still got plenty of time. We only like what at the tail end of the month we have like a few games coming out, a
Yeah,
game or two coming out,
there's Atomic
and then
Heart
like
and
from
like an Ishin on
yep,
February 21st, so we got like a week and a half of nothing until that. So
yeah,
there's a I think I'll beat it for sure by the time the next game comes out. And then there'll be another break, and maybe I'll go back and start it, take another break. If anything, this hurts
because we thought
Persona
April,
3 for me because I won't be able to go back to Persona 3.
we thought April was going to be the break month, and I mean like it is all the way up until literally the end,
Yeah.
but March for me, I mean the only thing that I can think of note that I want to get is
WWE that
WWE
comes
and
out. Resident Evil 4 is the
Resident
24th.
Evil.
Yeah.
Yep. So between those two, both those games, other than that, like Harry Potter, why
Yeah.
not? Hogwarts Legacy, I mean, why not?
Either or, people call them.
But
People still put in like the titles parentheses Harry Potter game because it's like a algorithm thing. A lot of people when they search up this game do look for Harry Potter RPG. That's why it was called. That's why back in the day when I would call it Harry Potter open world RPG, that was kind of what people would look for. And still to this day, people still kind of do. But I think that will disappear. Like when it gets to Hogwarts Legacy 2, people know nobody's gonna accidentally say the Harry Potter game. I think in another four
I'm
years.
noticing it now too. Like a lot of people who are calling it like Harry Potter Hogwarts Legacy, like
Yeah,
some of them are actually just Hogwarts Legacy, which I think is a testament because now it's carving its own name
yeah,
for
it
it. Like
stands on its
we
own.
always talk about the Wizarding World, but like a lot of people can't like detach the Wizarding World from Harry Potter, and I can understand that. But like it
Yeah,
feels like this game is like the start of actually
yeah,
wanting to do that.
100%. And then the people that are against the game just call it the Wizard game. Uh, they don't even go too specific for it. All right. Well, you got any last thoughts for the folks at home slash on Hogwarts? I'm sure next week. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about some of the games that are coming out right after it. But I'm sure next week will be an okay amount of Hogwarts talk as well. But any last thoughts?
Thank you for supporting us. If you bought this game, I hope you enjoy it. Regardless of whatever side you're on, there's always, like I said, a good way to turn a negative into a positive. We don't always have to hate each other. We can love each other. Everybody can coexist. I love you all. So like
There you go.
everybody to have a good I just want everybody to have a good day. Keep asking questions. And thank you so much for tuning in.
Yes, yes, and we want to do something live. Um,
Live,
so
yes.
maybe closer to 15 or 20. We can kind of depending on which week that is. We can maybe throw something together and make it like an event, have guests, stuff like that. But yeah, oh boy, the game. I don't know, game of our dreams. That's such a powerful statement. It is a game I think a lot of people dreamt it would be. So I do think
Yes.
it's for as much as I exaggerate in a lot of like the ways I talk, I try not to with those kind of statements for games, which is
I
very
don't think
odd.
this would be an exaggeration. I
Yeah,
don't think this
I
one
think
would
to a
fall
lot of
under
people it
there.
actually is. So I don't think I
Yeah.
don't think it is exaggerating. Um, enjoy the game. Don't enjoy the game. Whatever you want to do, don't buy it. Leave people alone. Generally, I'm actually like what you just said. Everybody can coexist. I would take it a step further and just say, just everybody, please leave each other alone. I can exist by
Yes.
myself, just in a corner, but I'm antisocial and stuff. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week, and we will see you all there.